Well, we have a lot to cover for the week that I missed, and that includes, of course, Iron Maiden's Nico McBrian retiring, AC/DC announcing their first North American tour since 2016, of course, the Hellfest lineup, and, of course, a tentative Black Sabbath tour. This is all big news that is going to be up and discussed on this episode, so tune in. Hi people and hello my Chili Con Carnage crew, it's Chili here from Live Listener Race, bringing you, of course, the music news. I'm sorry that I didn't bring out an episode last week, but geez, a lot has happened, of course, a lot has happened in that week that I missed. So there is a lot to capture and we're going to hopefully smash it out. But once again, this is the podcast that has no name at this stage. Please drop in the comment section below what you think it should be called. But let's just launch straight into this, because the first and biggest, I think, news article that came out from the week that I missed was, of course, Nico McBrian from Iron Maiden, the drummer that is, he has retired from touring, which is a massive piece of information, piece of news, if you will, because he's been with the band for 42 years, and of course is a big presence with the band itself. So, to hear the news that, of course, Nico McBrian has announced that he is retiring from touring, and his last night was in Sao Paulo with Brazil, it was just like a bit of a shock. I don't know. Look, I haven't been following the whole Iron Maiden circle. Maybe the news was on the wall or something like that, but I certainly didn't see this coming. This seems to have just sprung out of nowhere. Now, of course, he began back in 1982 with the band. He replaced, can't think of the guy, but anyway, he joined on with Iron Maiden back in 1982 and has been with them ever since. So this is just a big blow for Iron Maiden, I guess, and, he can just say, like he said here, what can I say, touring with Iron Maiden for the last 42 years has been an incredible journey. To my devoted fan base, you made it all worthwhile and I love you. And there's also other things that he has mentioned, something about, I think he mentioned it was in Sao Paulo or Brazil, it was a great turn of events and it was a big thing as well. So, yes, actually, now I remember there was also health issues he had suffered back in 2023. That's right, he had a stroke, and that paralysed the right side of his body. He continues on to read, and it threatened his drumming career. And, after that whole situation, all seemed quite fine and dandy, because obviously he went on tour with Iron Maiden just recently. Obviously, it's still going, and I kind of thought he was over the hill. He had recovered, but obviously maybe this is just a big turning event for him, and he's realised, I'm not getting any younger. I may as well enjoy my retirement. I've lived a life. I've lived a fantastic life. So be it, I guess. And it's just a shame to see a musician go out on such terms, especially one as fantastic as McBrian is. But Iron Maiden have also announced they have replaced him with a new live drummer. So I don't know if Nico, if they're going to record studio albums, will Nico be part of them? Probably. Actually, most likely. Because he only said that he's going to retire from live performing. So I think he'll be still part of the process when it comes to studio recordings. But yes, also, as I mentioned before, they have announced their new live drummer. And the new live drummer is Simon Dawson, who plays with founding Iron Maiden bassist Steve Harris in the band British Lion. I'm not familiar with Simon Dawson or his works, so good luck to him in the post, of course, in regards to what he will be facing, I guess. He seems to be part of groups such as The Outfield and Dearly Beheaded. Interesting. So that's what it is at this stage. Yeah, it looks like Simon has taken over for Nico in the drummer's seat there for Iron Maiden in the live process. Now, of course, look, when it comes to Iron Maiden, I guess this has got to be said. When it comes to Iron Maiden and bands in general like this in their caliber, drummers can kind of be interchanged. You're not going to like it. You're not going to like that I've said this, but drummers can be interchanged in a live performance. As far as studio recordings go, it's a little bit different. Possibly yes, possibly no, it just depends. But, as far as live settings go, obviously, people playing the tracks, that's about it. And it kind of begs the question of, is this just a shell of the band? Depends how many people you replace at the end of the day. So, and I guess that leads into what this next headline is. This news headline. And that is AC/DC announcing their first North American tour since 2016. I say this leads in because obviously you had the news some years ago, actually, of, the guitarist Malcolm Young passing away. And I think it was his nephew, took over the role. And he looks exactly like him as well. But, and this is a band where obviously the drummer as well was also replaced because the drummer was sent to jail over trying to hire like a hitman and meth and guns and all this shit. And it's such a weird state. The only original member is Angus at this point. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't even know if the bass player is the original one. Is Cliff still part of the band? I'm just trying to remember. But, AC/DC, I'm pretty sure Angus is the only original member at this stage. Now, obviously, Angus is the band at this point. But, okay, Cliff is there, but he hasn't been touring. There we go. So there's another situation where, Cliff Williams has not toured with the band since 2024. That could be due to, I don't know the reason. Sorry, I don't know that reason. But yes, AC/DC have announced their first North American tour since 2016. That's a massive gap. And by the way, Yanks, if you're listening to this, it's pronounced Akadaka. That's how we say the band's name. So yeah, Akadaka are of course coming out to North America. I have already spoken to several people who have already got tickets. For example, I think if Rock of All Ages, if you're listening, I think you mentioned that you were going to go see them. Good on you, man. They're a really good band to go see live. So, my American friends out there who are listening, if you're going to see AC/DC, I highly suggest you do. They're going to put on an awesome show, and there's quite a leg here that they've announced. They've announced only it's quite a short leg. They've announced only a couple of tours at this point. Sorry, a couple of locations: Minneapolis, Arlington, Vancouver, Las Vegas, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Tampa, Chicago, and Cleveland. That's only a couple of them. There are still a few more, and that's going to be an interesting one because Power Trip, I think, are also going to be part of the show as well. Or am I reading this? Is an old video, sorry. But look, it's going to be cool to see AC/DC come out to North America. I'm sure they'll be well missed. It's been what's that been? Nearly 10 years, 9 years since their last time. So that's going to be a big one for them. The next one we have here is System of a Down adding shows with Korn, Deftones, and Avenged Sevenfold, which just sounds like a mini festival in itself. That's some big names, and all this is happening in August and September of 2025. System of a Down adding shows with Korn, Deftones, Avenged Sevenfold. Damn, that is quite the lineup. So what is this? This is System of a Down recently announcing 3 massive shows. Just 3, damn. And they are also going to be special guests alongside Polyphia and Wisp as openers for all 3 shows. Due to the popular demand, System of a Down has now added a second night to each of these dates, which you can find below. So this is, I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't say if it's a festival, it doesn't seem like it, but you can guarantee this is definitely, it's America. System of a Down, I don't think System of a Down has toured Australia since far out, 2005 or something. It's been a long time since System of a Down came out to, Australia, and I don't see them coming out. And it's a shame because I really want them to come down to Australia and just perform, because damn it, I really want to see System of a Down. I don't want to go all the way to Europe just to, I don't know, see the band. It just seems like a waste at the end, at the end of the day. So, no Aussie dates have been set. Looks like 2012 was the last time they were, performing. That was at Soundwave Festival. Damn, Soundwave. This was the first, and when they came out in 2012, that was their first visit to Australia in 7 years. So System of a Down unfortunately hate Australia, but at the end of the day, I know Serge has his back injuries and he doesn't really like performing with the band, and the whole band just freaking hates each other. It's a weird scenario. It's like these guys know that this is their meal ticket, but they have to get along and perform on stage in order to actually get some money. And look, they're also doing it for the fans as well. Let's admit that. But damn it, if this festival, if this lineup, if System of a Down came down to Australia with Korn, Deftones, and Avenged Sevenfold, I would pay good money to see that. At least for the first three. I don't know. Avenged Sevenfold would be a bonus, but that would be a big freaking lineup to see. I would love to see System of a Down. They did a big day out show many moons ago. And I remember seeing the footage and filming it, and it was just incredible to watch. That was System of a Down at their heyday. It was shortly after, I want to say it was shortly around the time I Steal This Album, somewhere around about that period. So anyway, the other, speaking of Korn again, we're also mentioning Hellfest, which has been announced. And there is quite a few big lineups that have been added. So Korn, Muse, Scorpions, wow, and Linkin Park to headline 2025's Hellfest. This is going to be taking place, of course, down in, where is this? Is this in France? Yes, I thought it was. And I'm looking over the lineup here. So I'm a bit surprised about Scorpions headlining, considering that Judas Priest is on the same day as that. I would have assumed that Judas Priest would take the headliner act over Scorpions, but then again, it is what it is. Korn, of course, is a massive group on that one there, which also features Till Lindemann, Airborne, Apocalyptica, Skindred, interesting, Electric Callboys there, so you're going to have a good festival lineup with that. It's a great thing. And what else do we have here? Muse, The Who, and that is not the British band The Who, but the Mongolian one, the HU. The Cult, Royal Republic, I'm not going to continue on with there. Such Vai band, so that should be, was that Steve Vai and oh my god, what? Oh, Joe Satriani, isn't it? Yeah, Joe Satriani and Steve Vai's band. Yeah, that should be pretty cool, actually. Really interesting. It's like G2. Black Country, Miles Kennedy, and a few other acts there. Eagles of Death Metal, Cypress Hill, Linkin Park, as we mentioned, and Falling in Reverse. So there's a pretty big lineup for, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4-day festival. Why can't Australia have a 4-day festival? We never have the calling cards. We never have the pull, the sway to bring out bands, as many bands as this, and be able to pull it off in such a way. We just don't. I don't know what it is, because, I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but, we just don't have the ability to have all these kinds of bands coming out to a festival and be able to perform for days on end. I don't know, we suck. It's such a shame. There was another piece of information I just saw. Headliner Static X is going to announce the 2025 US dates. That's going to be with Gua, Dope, and Killer's Confessions. Of course, it's with Dope. It's always with Dope, because we know the reasons why when it comes to Zero, the replacement singer, of course, of Wayne Static. But at the end of the day, you know what? That is what it is, and it's always going to be the case. Look, I've seen Static X doing the Wisconsin Death Trip when they played the 20th anniversary. So obviously Zero was, of course, the vocalist for them. And Dope were there as well, and I'm trying to think of who the other act was. I am drawing a mental blank. But still, Static X performed in their original lineup, bar, of course, Wayne Static, and Zero was the lead singer and vocalist. Lead singer and guitarist as well. And you know what? I reckon they killed it. I reckon the band really did well. Obviously, Dope singer, what's his name? Trip Eisen or something? He does quite well. And it's a weird scenario that Static X find themselves in, is that they're so culturally revered among their fan base that even if another person took the death mask of course, the well-respected Wayne Static, slapped it on their head, and then, of course, proceeded to not only tour but also use the dead man's vocals themselves in new songs and albums, that people would still go to it and listen to it. It's such a bizarre scenario that I don't think any other band has ever found themselves in. No other band in history has put on a dead skin mask, if you will, of the lead singer and paraded his image around. But it's not meant as a sadistic method. It's more to honour the man himself, because we all love Wayne Static. We all love Static X, if you're obviously called Static X fan. But we can't have Wayne Static anymore, and I think it's an interesting tribute at the end of the day. And it's a way to experience the music amongst the fans as well. Because, like, you take, for example, Nirvana, and there's a lot of acts who are going to be doing covers of them, but, I remember years ago, Dawes and me went to, the movies, and that was because they were playing live at the Mighty Banks at the movies, and it was, of course, that was, 30 years ago or something, but it was a way to experience Nirvana in a big, loud, environment, and amongst other peers who enjoyed the music, and I think that was a great experience. And, I think that was a great way to just enjoy the band and be amongst other people who enjoyed Nirvana as well. Another one, for example, towing the same line, again with Dawes, we went and saw a musician cover, again Nirvana, because we both love Nirvana. This musician, he covered the MTV performance in full, and he was dressed as well like Kurt Cobain. He was like the spitting image of Kurt Cobain up on stage. He had even the whole setup of the performance had candles around him, and the band also looking like the band, and it looked exactly like obviously the MTV performance with all the candles set up, that the one stool set up, and his guitar that was exactly the same. And that's probably the closest example I can think of where you're reflecting, of course, what was an iconic image and something that's ingrained in our minds, and bringing it to stage for the fans to enjoy. Of course, you're not the original musician, but this is a way for all the fans to truly appreciate the music. And that guy did really well. I think he did a fantastic rendition of course, the MTV performance. And on top of that, he also did a lot of research, because he did not only the MTV performance, which is actually quite a bit short, but he also covered a few songs afterwards, which he believed were going to be possible inclusions for, of course, the performance, but were removed for reasons. And he gave the reasons as well, and he gave the reasons why he came to these conclusions of songs, because, Kurt Cobain wrote it down, or there was an interview said somewhere. And of course, he obviously played Smells Like Teen Spirit, which was never going to be part of that one. But, I think that's the closest I can really call the description as far as Static X. And look, if you haven't seen them and you're apprehensive about the whole scenario, keep this in mind that, Zero kills it when he's on stage. He does really well. I think the imagery is perfect, because we're talking about the evil disco band, Static X themselves, and he's up there on stage, red glowing eyes, and I think you're really in for quite a good show if you go see them. I can attest to that, because I've seen them, and I think they killed it. I think they did a fantastic job. So yes, there is something like, what is there here, nearly 20 additions to their performances that they were going to be performing at. And what have we got? Tucson, Albuquerque, Wichita, Des Moines, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Davenport, Grand Rapids, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Wheeling, Wallingford, Buffalo, Toronto, Montreal, Hampton Beach, Myrtle Beach, Raleigh, Kansas City, Oklahoma City. So yeah, there's quite a bit. Did I mention? Oh man, I thought it was Wisconsin. Where's Wisconsin? You gotta have Wisconsin. It's the death trip after all. So yeah, look, that's Static X, of course, and that's going to be performing with other members such as Gua and Dope and Killer's Confession, which would be quite an interesting lineup to go see, these bands in such a setting. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Static X scenario. We're going to move on to Sum 41. And look, if you tuned in a fortnight ago and you listened to my recording, that was made the day before, 2 days before Good Things. 2 days before I went and saw Good Things Festival. So that night, if you're unfamiliar, when I made that recording, later that night, Sum 41 pulled out of Good Things Festival. And it was very, very disappointing. It's a massive blow, because obviously Good Things Festival, one of the biggest reasons that I went, and my friend also bought a ticket, was to see Sum 41, because it's their last ever Australian tour, before they retire. And unfortunately, Derek was suffering from pneumonia and had to pull out with like 24 hours notice to the Melbourne show. 48 hours notice at Sydney, and whatever, 72 hours at Brisbane or something. Yeah, pretty much these festivals took place in 3 days in a row, so that's quite insane. But it's a blow. It's a massive blow, because I was really keen to see Sum 41. To a degree I did, because Electric Callboy were on stage and their drummer backed out at the last minute. So, Sum 41's drummer filled in the role for that part of them. And Electric Callboy, look, I'll tell you this, Electric Callboy took the stage in lieu of Sum 41, and it's quite a massive achievement, because they were the second last closer for stages 1 and 2 for the Sydney show, and they killed it, man. They really, I don't like their music. I don't particularly like their music. It's not bad, but it's just not my style. It's interesting, but I'm not going to go listening to it. So, I'm watching them, and this is the second time I've actually caught them at Good Things Festival. They were actually performing at 2022's one, and this is the perspective, the shift and change, I guess, as far as, how far Electric Callboy has also come. But Electric Callboy were performing over on stages 3 and 4 in something like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I remember because, a mate of me, we went over to go see them. I think that was the first band we went and saw that day. And we went over to the stage, and stages 3 and 4 is considerably smaller to 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is the main one. And of course, stage 5 is obviously off to the side completely again. So, yeah, we're watching, we're watching Electric Callboy, and for that small section, it was packed. There were lots of people there. At the end of the day, there were so many people just to hear Electric Callboy. They were singing the lyrics. They were going nuts. They enjoyed it. It was great to see them live. They put on a good show. And I didn't think much of it. I know they got some pretty cool videos and stuff like that, and they're all interesting to watch. They're, in my mind, a bit more for the memes than the music, but again, that's my take on them. But watching Electric Callboy go all the way to, the second last closer of the night, and thinking, geez, are they going to step up here? Because, that's a big call to be the second last, before Korn as well. They're going to be the ones before Korn. That is a massive call. But they did so well, and I'm pleased to announce that I think they got real potential to be headline act, and I think it's going to be great if they manage to secure that. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or so, Electric Callboy makes headlining acts, in festivals moving on. Because, they absolutely slayed it on stage. They were doing the whole back and forth bit. The crowd was going nuts. They got them worked up. And it was an interesting one because, the Good Things Festival, the one in Sydney, it was pissing down most of the day. It was raining. Then it got really stupidly muggy. And despite all this, despite the grievances of that, the band managed to whip the crowd up into a fury. And they had lots of sweaty people in the crowd. They kept cutting to them, and so many people just going absolutely nuts and munted and all the rest. It was great to see them perform. Again, they just killed it. They did so well. And deservedly, I think they did fantastic to take over from Sum 41's slot in Good Things Festival. But this leads back, I guess, to the Sum 41 part here with, Derek Whibley on the band's last ever tour. And it's finally hitting me that it's coming to an end, of course. Well, yeah, I guess when you announce retirement, I don't know, I've never been in this scenario, or even if you were to quit, your work, for example, and you give you 2 weeks notice or something, you may not really feel it up until those last few days. It's actually, what's a better example is when you're going on holidays. Hey, I'm going on holidays, it's 5 months off, and you don't feel that ride up until, maybe the last month, when all of a sudden it's oh damn, it's real, it's getting close to it. So, it's finally obviously hitting them that this is going to be it for them, and Sum 41, and obviously it's starting to feel a bit more real to them. And I kind of have to note, I guess, will they come back to Australia to redeem themselves? I hope so, because, it's while it's a big nostalgia trip for them, and it's looking at the rearview mirror, of course, I think there's going to be a lot of Australian fans who felt let down by obviously the situation that they find themselves in. And I really hope, I I hold just a glimmer of hope, if you will, that Sum 41 will somehow swing back around to Australia, announce, some small weekends worth of shows. They might hit up Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane all in one weekend, and I really hold a glimmer of hope that they do come back, because it's a shame that they had to cancel, of course, due to the pneumonia that he was suffering. The band also scrapped, of course, the remaining sideshows on the Australian tour, and I know some people were commenting on it, saying that they had bought sideshow tickets and, of course, were going to Good Things. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in regards to, of course, what they were saying. So, yeah, look, there's also, Whitley's also been treated for pneumonia in the past, and it's one of those things that you kind of had to wonder what's... maybe this is one of the reasons, of course, that that band is obviously retiring as well. Obviously, there's a few other things. I guess I haven't read the autobiography. I believe there's an autobiography that just recently came out. It was only a couple of weeks ago by Derek. And anyway, it's going to be a big thing when they finally do walk off the stage for the last time. But it's going to be a sad day. And look, swinging back around, of course, to also Good Things Festival. This is speaking to the festival presenters, or the way it was set up. And one of the other headliner acts was Billy Corgan. Of course, of Smashing Pumpkins fame, everyone knows him from them. And he obviously, for those who are a bit more unfamiliar, he has a solo project. He has actually many solo bands. And, most famously, I guess... Actually, I can't even think of his solo stuff. I've listened to one or two of his solo albums. They're okay. They're not great, but they're not terrible either. But, look, Billy Corgan has had a few solo albums out. I think the one that I've listened to was The Future Embrace, which was definitely very electronica, more to his style of that time, because I think it was around 2003 or 5 or 6, somewhere at 2005, that one was released. And, it was very electronica, keeping up to date with what he was trying to be at that time. He also has the album, what is it, Ogilala and Cotillions? Cotillions? Anyway, I've listened to them, they're not bad, they're just not really memorable. But, for the festival, if you weren't familiar... Billy Corgan was pitted against Korn. So that at the same time that Korn were going to be performing on stage, jumping on stage, Billy Corgan was jumping on the other stages over at 3 and 4. And there was an interesting photo that came out from the Brisbane show. And that showed out that approximately, at a festival with, I don't know how many people were there, 60,000 maybe? I don't know. Let's just say there were 60,000 people at this festival. And this is the headlining act now. There were approximately 300 people who were going to watch Billy Corgan. And, the photo is just such a far cry of what to expect with such a big musician. I'm looking at this shed, and it really is. It looks like a wool shed or a temporary Easter show setup or something. I don't know. I've never been to this Brisbane thing. I've never seen it. But, anyway, the shed goes all the way back, and then you can just see a small crowd of people at the front. And there's so much empty space towards the back. It's unsettling, almost a bit sad as well. But, I guess this one person said it, or as the photo caption said, side projects rarely work out. And that is very true. Because if this was the Smashing Pumpkins, let's say instead of the solo project of Billy Corgan performing all his solo crap, if this was the Smashing Pumpkins, you would have thousands of people going there. You would have a lot of people just rocking up. Okay, if you pitted Korn against Smashing Pumpkins, there would be a divide amongst the fan base. Unfortunately, due to the way the festival was done, and maybe this was done on purpose as well, the majority of people were going to go see Korn. And look, I'll talk about it because I'm recording an episode at the moment in regards to the Good Things Festival and my experience, but it was when we went to go see Korn, we lined up, or rather got in place while Electric Callboy were taking the stage. So there was an hour to pass. We got pretty good locations and it was fine. But then with the last, 20-30 minutes, everyone started packing in like sardines. It started getting sweaty, really hot, and it was just sweltering. And it just, like, the crowd swelled. It was insane. And there was definitely everyone at that festival going to see Korn. I don't know how many people were at the Sydney section. At Billy Corgan's section for the Sydney show. I can't imagine it would be too many. It would probably be looking very similar to, of course, what this photo was taken here. So anyway, it was a very interesting one. It says here also, I saw him in Melbourne. The crowd was tiny, 100 to 200 max. So yeah, it's very interesting, I guess, when you come up to solo versus your major, drawing card. So yeah, look, people want to see 1979. They don't want to see your side project stuff. Moving on, and we're going to be talking about musicians from a bygone era and solo projects. This is the antithesis of when a solo project doesn't work out. Black Sabbath. So of course Ozzy Osbourne has had a solo career, a smashing success, if not bigger than Black Sabbath. But again, solo projects rarely work out. This is probably one of the few where it did. But anyway, Black Sabbath have tentative plans for one more live performance. Guesses where that's going to be? I'm going to say Birmingham somewhere. Now, where is it going to be? Of course, Black Sabbath ended with only 3/4 of its classic lineup on stage. Yes, of course, because Bill Ward quit Black Sabbath back in 2012 due to a contract dispute, and sadly didn't get to perform on the final album, or the final album 13, or the final tour. So it seems that maybe there's been loose talks of one final actual Black Sabbath show featuring the original lineup, and it seems like it could actually happen. ? Okay, so Ozzy is on board. Iommi's down for it, of course he is. Butler expressed his own approval, and even Ward himself said that he'd be into the idea. But how might the show actually take place? They continue on with Metal Injection. Well, according to Butler, in an interview with Life Minute, Osbourne wants the final Black Sabbath performance to happen at his hypothetical farewell show. Oh, shit. His hypothetical farewell show. What? Okay, I was not ready for that. The fuck is a hypothetical farewell show? I very much doubt there would ever be a full-on reunion. Maybe a one-off show. Of course, when Ozzy talked about his farewell concert, which he still wants to do, he's dying to still get it done. Maybe a bad choice of words when it comes to Ozzy. But yeah, look, they definitely want to finish off as a band. As a band that has done their, they're synonymous to the metal realm. So it could be interesting to see. Would you, be, if Bill Ward was on the stage and performing, I would have loved. Look, okay, I'll back this one up. I saw Black Sabbath during their farewell tour. So I should preface this. So I saw them during their farewell tour, which means, I saw 3/4 of Black Sabbath. I believe, what is it, Tom Wilkes, Rage Against the Machine's drummer, I think? Brad Wilkes. No, he's the bassist. Oh my god. Had an absolute mind blank as far as who the drummer was. Brad Wilkes? I think it's Brad. Sorry. Yeah, Brad Wilk. He was the drummer for the shows and for 13, the album. So, anyway, sorry, sidetracked. So, yeah, look, I saw them during the farewell tour. They were great. They were fantastic to see. And I think that's, got to be one of the highlights I've ever seen a band performing. Black Sabbath, man. How can you not? So it would have been something special, of course, if Bill Ward managed to settle his differences, his grievances, and just perform with them. Obviously, this goes back to what I was saying earlier as far as Iron Maiden and replacing, your drummer in a live setting. It can be done. Was it any different? Well, we'll never know, I guess. Bill Ward certainly had some flair and techniques to performing. And I remember watching this footage from the band back in the early days. And, Bill Ward's up there drumming, and he flips his drumsticks to face the other way. So instead of, those little narrow pieces facing the drum kit like it normally would. He gets those thick handle parts instead. And I was watching it with someone, and I'm like, why did he do that? You know, he was a drummer, and he goes, he did it to produce a thicker sound. And it's just incredible to see, like, you know, alright, we're going to be performing War Pigs. Alright, I'm going to turn my drumsticks the other way around so that it can be done louder. And it's just such an interesting scenario. Even when I went to see Earthless, Mario, I think was the drummer there. You know, he is an insane drummer for such a small kid. The guy got such an incredible sound out of it, and you know, I think of course Bill Ward has his technique. I think he's got very interesting style. Whether it still be the case now is up for debate. I haven't seen any live performances lately of his, so I don't know. From what I had heard, I thought Bill Ward was actually quite sick as well during this time. Hell, they all are, aren't they? They're obviously getting on in stages, but I heard Bill Ward in particular was very sick around about this time. So, you know, if you had the option, if you were in England, and I can assume Birmingham's where they do the show, the final one-off show, if you were lucky enough, would you go and see them? Because, I mean, I wouldn't fly all the way over to go see them, but, you know, that's just one thing, I guess. Now, King Diamond has also released a new single, which is called Spider Lily, and it's interesting because, you know, it goes on to say that, you know, as far as King Diamond goes, he loves his theatrics, and of course his imagery, his intriguing worlds, and his world building. But, you know, the song Spider Lily, which I haven't heard yet, features live vocalist, geez, how do you even pronounce that? Myrkur? Myrkur. Sorry, I can't pronounce these names. But, you know, it was dark, but with a great experience, he goes on to say. And, you know, hopefully that's not the last video we will be able to film there as well, which I don't know where there is. It doesn't say in the article, but the mention that was intriguing, I guess, was that the press release stated that this was the first single and video taken for the King Diamond's forthcoming new horror trilogy, of which part 1 is titled St. Lucifer's Hospital 1920. So it sounds like we're going to have a lot more King Diamond than a lot of people have thought. And, you know, obviously Abigail and all those records are intricate with many storylines and such, and this might be just another concept album in theory in regards to his music. So King Diamond fans, keep an eye out, because, you know, it seems like there's going to be a lot of music to come from the bands. And it also, actually, I just read here, it looks really cool because they're doing festival dates with some venues, with Paradise Lost, cool, Angel Witch, and Unto Others. Now that is damn good. If you want to go see King Diamond, make sure to check out Unto Others. Highly recommend them because they are an awesome band who I've seen live and would highly recommend to go and see live. Now, we come to the final section in regards to, well, let's end on a high note, I guess. The final news article, which is in regards to a new metal shirt that is being offensive. Now, metal shirts have been known to be offensive in the past. The most famous one can obviously be attributed to Cradle of Filth's shirt. Jesus is a C word. We're not going to say it on this one, but you know exactly the one. I've seen that shirt a couple of times at festivals, and damn, like, does that make heads turn. So, yeah, look, I mean, the most famous instance was someone wore that shirt into a church and got kicked out by the father. I find that absolutely hilarious. It's like, yep, I know what I'm doing. Like, you knew exactly what you were trying to do, and yeah, you instigated, you caused such a kerfuffle over. That's awesome. But this one in question, it's like, how do you get more offensive than that shirt to me? You know, and you really can't. But this one is more of a timely manner. So there's this band, and I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce them, but Sanguizubagog. How do you pronounce this? Sanguizugabog. Sanguizugabog is the name of the band, I assume. Anyway, they released a shirt recently, and it was very, very, very recent because it has the shirt that rolled out saying "Free Luigi," And of course, you can imagine, of course, this is related to the shooter of that CEO, Luigi. And they also, I didn't know they made a shirt. I saw their Facebook post doing the circles because I remember reading this. And they said on their Facebook post, just wanted to give a quick shout out to our friend Luigi, who on December the 4th around 6 a.m. helped us load our trailer and drive with us to play a secret set all the way to Point Arena, CA, which is about 2,800 miles from the Manhattan. And after staying at the show with us all night, he bought merch from every band except for the hoodies. And when we asked, when we asked why, he just replied, "Two things I hate most in the world are hoodies and 3D printed 9mm. Thank you, Luigi. The world needs more people like you." Now, you might find this offensive, or you might find this absolutely hilarious, which is where I find it. It's obviously it's a joke post. I didn't know they made a shirt which had Free Luigi and his likeness on the front of it, but there have been a lot of shirts, and in several instances too, when highly controversial things happen, shirts get made almost instantly to the to facilitate a growing need, because hell, jump on the opportunity and you may as well. Hell, I'd almost want to buy that shirt just for the lols. But at the end of it, where you stand politically or not, this is obviously a joke post. These guys are going to be sitting out and making controversial statements, and look where it's got them. I'm talking about them. It's a band I don't even know. I can't even pronounce the bloody name of the band. And I imagine, like, after this whole thing, they're going to have a lot more fans after it as well. And it reminds me as well of Selena 52 Truck Stop. If you're unfamiliar with that Facebook group, it's an entire piss take of just truck stops in general. It's like the most insane Facebook crew I've ever seen. It's a parody page. It's hilarious. For example, they have their blind forklift driver who has won awards, and Piss Jug Man, and obviously the truck stop showers with various amounts of holes in them. So you can imagine, like, Selena Truck Stop is hilarious as far as their posts go, and they did the same kind of thing. They mentioned, obviously, on the 10th of December, we wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to our newest employee, Luigi, for picking up piss jugs in a 24-hour non-stop shift on December the 4th, beginning at 12 a.m. without ever clocking out. Thank you for your dedication to Selena 52 Truck Stop. So, yeah, management has and it's got a pretty decent picture. It's got a pretty decent Photoshop picture of Luigi's face, someone pointing at a jug full of piss, and it looks like a massive milk gallon jug. And a shirt saying "My name is Luigi" on the back, on the front of it. It is a hoodie, which I don't know if the band are fans or follow, obviously, Selena Truck Stop, so maybe that's a reference. But anyway, so look, obviously the band have just taken their opportunity to sell some shirts, and there's a good reason behind it, because that's how bands make income these days. They're not making it through selling records. They're barely making any income through, obviously, Spotify. So pretty much bands are glorified shirt salesmen. And if that's how they have to make money, then so be it. When Cradle of Filth made their shirt, Jesus is a C word, they were pretty much on the same lines, and if that's what it takes these days, then that's what it takes. Hopefully the bands start to pick up. Maybe I'll listen to what they have to offer. I don't know. But I'll certainly check them out. So I guess that's something, isn't it? Here's a band that I don't know about, is now getting the media and their attention. It's probably a very small shirt as well, I would imagine. Nope, okay, it's not. I just saw the shirt design. Oh, no, that can't be it. That can't be it. It says Free Luigi. Okay, maybe it is. Holy shit. Okay, so the Free Luigi shirt design, I finally found it, was interesting. It's got Bowser being taken out in a very graphic image. So anyway, yeah, so hey, if you got that shirt, let me know in the comment section below, because it does sound like it's going to be a rarity. Could also be one of the most intriguing cases, because this might be one of those situations where instead of the music being banned, you might actually see the merch being banned. And that is really bizarre to think about when you got it at the end of the day. So I think that wraps up pretty much all the music news that I wanted to cover over the 2 weeks, the week that I missed anyway. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. This is going to be probably the final episode of the year. I'm not going to do next week's one because obviously that I think falls on Christmas, doesn't it? Yeah, pretty much. It does falls on Christmas there, and I'm really not in the mood to do a recording on Boxing Day when I'm extremely hungover. So I wanted to thank every single person out there in YouTube land, in Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you're listening to me, and you can consider this a Christmas wrap up, if you will. We've only got probably one more episode that'll be coming out in a few days, maybe just before New Year's, and that's going to be my stories about the Good Things Festival of 2024 and talking about that one. So thank you all for tuning in on this episode. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great Christmas, actually. Enjoy your season, and time off, and enjoy eating lots of food, drinking too much piss, and we'll see you in the new year, I imagine, with all kinds of new goodies for us to enjoy. So take it easy, everyone, and stay spicy out there. If you've enjoyed this content, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to us, and stay notified for future music-related content, because it keeps our manager happy at the end of the day. We are also on Discord, Instagram, Facebook, and all those other social platforms if you want to check us out. As always, people, you have a great day, and stay spicy.